This is the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time! Presenting the champion of the world, Hell, WamBams, Ben Amino!
Yo, it's your boy. It's Wham Bam Wednesdays. Another episode coming to you nice and live right here. And let me tell you what, man, we got such a great guest today. We are here live tonight, Wham Bam Wednesdays. We're talking about regular people, just ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And tonight's guest, you're just gonna be blown away. Okay, but I want to give away too much because first I want to remind you to subscribe. Remember, it doesn't cost you anything to listen to this. We're only on here once a week, man. It's Wham Bam Wednesdays. That's it, once a week. So we're asking you, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just hit that little alert button down below so that you know what, you're showing some love. That's all we're asking. Just show a little bit of love, pass it along. Each show and each episode is designed with somebody out there who, again, is just an ordinary person. Wondering if their dreams can become reality. And this is a show that just shows you over and over every single week that it can be you. Okay. So, today's guest, I'm just going to go ahead. I'm just so super excited to let you know. This is a young man who grew up in Savannah, Georgia. That's right. He's homebred right here in Georgia. And you know what? He was adopted. He was making subs. He was working at pizza places. He did go to college. He went to college to get a business degree, but you know what? He always had the love for music. He wanted to be involved in the music world. So you know what he did? He bootstrapped money. He saved up a bunch of money so he could do an internship that we're going to talk about and come to Atlanta. He came to Atlanta with the money in his pocket, knowing he wasn't going to get paid to do anything, in hopes that, you know what, someday he could work with somebody like somebody you might know. Usher might be a little name that might ring your bell. In fact, he even brought me an Usher $100 bill right here that you can only get from Usher himself. So super excited, man, to introduce him. His real name, Anthony Smith, but guess what? They call him SUPA Ant. And that's it, man. That's it. And I think he's coming in right now.
Yes,
he's coming in now.
Yes,
hey,
sir.
there he is.
Bam. Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
What's up, man? Man, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to come here and join our show today, man.
No problem. Got to support. I've heard great things. So, I'm happy to be a part of this. Thank you, brother.
I appreciate it, man. Well, listen, man, we heard so many great things about you. You got such a great story and stuff. Let's start off first. Tell us a little bit about where you came from and your upbringing, and tell us a little about your journey before you got to Atlanta.
Okay, before Atlanta, as you mentioned, I'm from Savannah, Georgia. Okay, grew up there. Went to Georgia Southern University.
Georgia Southern.
Exactly.
Big shout out to the Georgia Southern boys out there.
Shout out to the Eagles. That was definitely my parents. They were on my head. They wanted me to get that college degree, which I completely agree with, and I love them for that. So yeah, got the college degree, but again, if we rewind, music has always been a passion. So we could start there.
Yeah.
However,
you know what? First things first, obviously being born and stuff and being adopted. There's a lot of kids out there sometimes they don't understand. And I tell this all the time. Not everybody's lucky to have their mom and dad right there. Not, some families break up. Sometimes people pass away. There are some different things and people think, I had some heartaches. So now my goals, my dreams can't come true. But you know what? Being an adopted, number one, you said, hey, your mom is a big part of your life.
Absolutely.
And has helped you through this. So just talk to some of the viewers a little bit about that.
No, absolutely. Growing up, so I grew up in the church. My mom, she actually taught Sunday school. So I sang in the choir. I took piano.
You sang?
Yeah.
Awesome. That's where the music came in, huh?
Exactly. So
okay.
I took piano lessons as a kid. My mom, she could play piano by ear. So I remember days when many days going to school when I was younger. She loved country music. So she would sing the lead of the country music songs and she would have me sing the harmonies. So she had constantly been developing my ear, and I didn't know how that would translate to now. But in hindsight, with music being such a passion of mine that I didn't know was being instilled in me at such a young age, and obviously not intentionally, because my mom had a strong passion for music.
Mm-hmm.
But without that, I don't think I would be anywhere close to successful as I am today. So I owe a lot of that to her. But again, yeah, just the music has always been instilled in me at such a young age, so it makes sense now for me to be, as I'll say, successful. I don't want to,
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
you know, we're doing okay.
You're doing all right. You're doing good.
right.
You're doing some really good things. We're gonna go there. So you know what? Think about it. I mean, so here you are. You're young. You're in church. You're singing. Did you play any other instruments growing up?
Yeah, she put me in, like I said, she plays piano by ear. So we had a piano in the house when I was growing up. So I would pick at it, and she realized that I had an interest in it. So she put me in piano lessons. So I did that for about 3 or 4 years, and then I lost interest in it. And then I picked it back up another 4 or 5 years after that for a few years. So that definitely helps in translation to what I'm doing now, because a lot of the artists that I work with, work with rap artists as well, but a lot of the artists that I work with is R&B. So when you're working in R&B music, you have to have a sensicality of pitch, melody, harmony. So understanding piano and being able to sing definitely sharpen my skills and help translate to what I'm doing now.
Speaking of skills and stuff, I remember, talking to you, a week ago when we were together and stuff, hanging out there when we went to Vegas and saw Usher show and stuff, which was really, really cool. And what a phenomenal show he put on and stuff and everything. But, we talked about your journey a little bit. You said before you really got into music and stuff, you were out there working. And if I'm not mistaken, you worked in the car audio industry. And back then you didn't realize that, today that really kind of helped you.
Absolutely. Again, that's another aspect of just what I did, because I loved it. I loved audio. I didn't realize that there was such a tug on me for audio. And that's a technicality aspect, which translates to the engineering aspect. So it's more of a technical field. But in high school, I did do car audio. So I was installing car audio speakers in the cars, custom box fabrication, TVs in the headrest, the whole 9, crossover. So I'm dealing with frequencies, decibels, just really understanding what car audio does for a car. And when we do music now, I think the number one test to figure out whether a mix, what we consider a mix, is good or not, we do the car test. That's like the pinnacle of whether or not a mix sounds good. And so I've been doing car tests since I was 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. And I didn't know it now, or know it then, but that was setting me up for now. So I feel like that gave me a little bit of an edge. So it's always been a technical aspect that I've had on the back burner that has given me a little bit of an edge to what I'm doing now.
Yeah, isn't it funny how life circles around a little bit? Here you are in church, singing for the Lord, and all of a sudden, boom, you're doing work in a car 15, and lo and behold, here you are today, man, making great music and great sound, for a lot of artists that are out there and stuff. So, obviously, growing up and stuff, being in Savannah, I know you went to school, you went to college and everything, but,
right.
You talked about, you worked at, some kind of lower level type of industries. You said you worked in a sub shop, you worked at pizza shops,
yeah,
like you were just trying to save up some money.
At the age of 15, that was my first job. So I've always been instilled from my parents to work hard. Whatever you want, you got to go get it.
Amen.
I didn't have a silver spoon. I worked hard, and they gave I went to private school as well. My older brother and my older sister, they went to public school, and my parents saw the opportunity.
Oh, you were special.
Exactly.
They saw it, man. They saw it right there. I need to bring them on the show. We need to talk to them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm considered exactly like how you said.
You're special.
The
golden child.
The chosen one.
Yeah, the chosen one.
Like
there
to
you
say. No, but yeah, they set me up for it. So just hard work, period. No matter what you want to do entrepreneurially, hard work is going to always pay off in the end. So like I said, when I was 15, I had my first job at a pizza and sub shop, riding my bike a couple of blocks away to get to the money. And then I loved cars. So any money that I made was going towards my car, customizing it, whether it was exhaust, a new intake, even to the point where when I had my 97 Eclipse, putting new turbos on it, I love to go fast. And I think that translates period to life. I just like to go fast and figure it out and make the most of life, because we're not guaranteed tomorrow.
That's for sure.
So just working hard, and like we mentioned, whenever I got to college, again, being technical, started recording local rap artists.
So now listen, what did you go to college for? Like, was this something that you said, hey, I'm going to college, I'm going to school, I'm going to learn how to mix, I'm going to learn how to be an engineer, this is what I want?
No.
Or did you take a turn somewhere along?
Well, no, absolutely not, because music was never in my forefront. Music is just something that has literally was just behind me all the way. No matter what I did, I couldn't get away from it. If I wasn't focused on it, it just followed me. And so until I decided to actually focus on it is what got me here now. But as far as going to college, I actually went to college to be a civil engineer. So civil engineering, you know, they deal with the construction, how a city may be mapped out and to the best of its capabilities, the best of its resources to make the city
make it a little bit better.
Well, not only make it better, but use the resources to the best of its ability.
Right.
Because engineering costs money.
Sure.
Right. So you just need to be bleeding money for no reason. So I started out in civil engineering. I did that for a few years. But then
you know, the ironic thing about it, and you know, just thinking about the fact that, you know, you went to college, music was in the back front and stuff. The music industry is hard. It doesn't matter though.
Absolutely.
Like, it's not something like where, you know, it's, hey, you can go there and automatically, you know, you're going to get a job. Like, there's a lot of people that are in that industry, and it's a grind and stuff. So that probably wasn't something that was on your radar
at all,
you know, and stuff, you know, when it came to it. And I'm sure it wasn't on your mom and dad. They were probably just like happy to get that degree, right?
Absolutely. No, it definitely wasn't. It wasn't on my radar. It wasn't on their radar, but I've always had a passion for music, no matter what it was, whether it was just listening to it or finally understanding how to create it. It's always been there. But when we come to the college career, like I said, I started out with civil engineering, and then that kind of just transitioned into business because a good friend of mine and his family, they did real estate. And I took an interest into that as well. So I decided to kind of switch my path, and I actually got a bachelor's in business with an emphasis on marketing. So whenever I graduated from Georgia Southern, I started for in one of the largest industrial construction supply companies in the world called Fastenal. I was an outside sales rep for them. And that parents loved that because that's what they wanted me to do. They wanted me to conquer that corporate world and use my degree.
Right.
But again, the degree is great to have, but you can always fall back on it. And the whole time I was at Georgia Southern, again, I would come to Atlanta because it's only about 3 hours from Statesboro, where Georgia Southern is. I would come to Atlanta and I would do music networking events, beat battles, any type of showcase I could go to just to catch the vibe. Because then I had friends around me who understand that, probably saw it before I did, that I had a talent for what that was. And they keep saying, "And just do the music. But
it was coming natural to you. You didn't realize
exactly. But again, I had my parents on my head.
Right.
So I wanted to make them happy in the same respect. So I was an outside sales rep for Fastenal for about 2-3 years. And then I was a buyer at a hospital for about a year. And then I'm getting a little older, and my friends are still on my head. Like, Aunt, what you doing? Come to Atlanta. So I decided to kind of go out on a limb. I applied for 3 internships at 3 different studios in Atlanta just to see.
Right. Now, let me pause there real quick for the listeners out there, because a lot of people don't really know what an internship is. Some people don't, so I want to make it clear. Were you being paid as an intern, or were you not being paid?
Absolutely not.
Not. So this is a situation where, you know, you're leaving a job, you're leaving the corporate world, you're making money yourself. You packed away a little bit of bread so that you can do this, you know, and stuff. Exactly. And you're like, hey, I'm going to pack up, I'm gonna go to Atlanta, and I'm gonna take on it. I'm gonna work for free. And did you set yourself a time frame? Did you say, listen, you know what, I'm gonna do this in X amount of months. It's gonna be a year, whatever it may be. You know, I got enough bread put away. I'm gonna try to make this a go. And if it doesn't, then Plan B.
You kind of
which Plan B is in my life, just so you know, WamBams life. Plan B is don't fuck up Plan A. All right.
Right. There is no Plan B.
So right.
Essentially, but no, exactly. Most of the interns, all of the internships that I applied for were 6-month internships. They're like, we'll bring you in for 6 months. If you want to go longer, cool. If you want to do less, obviously that's cool. If something happens to pop off for you. So that was the time frame that I had. And I had enough in savings to where I could survive for 6 months.
So that was your number. You're like, hey, I'm going for 6 months.
Exactly.
We're going to see what happens and stuff. Did anybody pick you up at this point in time?
Well, I applied for 3 internships. Nobody. All 3 of those.
Really?
Exactly. All 3 of those. I was denied. So it was a little bit of a disheartening moment. But about a month and a half, 2 months later, one of the studios that I applied for responded back and asked if I was still interested. And at that point, okay, this is my chance. So
gotcha.
Packed up a little bit, not a lot of bit, just a little bit, enough, because I didn't know if I was going to be there for a month, 2 months, 3 months, a year. So I literally packed up 2 boxes of clothes, moved to Atlanta. Shout out to Chad, my buddy Chad. We met in high school. He had a 2-bedroom, so he let me move in, gave me a excellent price.
Gotcha.
I was there for 6 months doing my internship, working hard, and literally the week after my 6-month internship ended, I started engineering for super producer Black Elvis.
Black Elvis. Yeah.
He had been in the studio the whole time I was there, so we slowly built a relationship. And I remember the day it happened, clear as day. He came out of the studio. We were all sitting at the front desk, and he asked if any of us could record. He needed to record something real quick, and we're all just kind of looking at each other. There was 4 of us sitting at the front desk. Nobody said nothing, so I said, "Yeah, I got you." And
nice.
I was with him for the next 4 years.
There you go. So obviously, you know what, your work spoke for itself. Being an intern, you know, Black Elvis is very, very famous. People, you know, he's been around the block a little bit. You know, he's done a few things. I think he's got a few plaques, right?
Yeah, Fergie, Glamorous, Usher, Lil Freak.
There you go.
Ego.
Yeah.
So he definitely gave me the tools over those 4 years working with him that I could put in my tool belt. And
what did that feel like, man? What did that feel like first when it's like, wow, this is Black Elvis? And you know what? Not only did I work with him, but he called me back.
Exactly. No, it's good. I mean, anytime you get recognized for your ability, whether you know you have it or not, is a great feeling, especially putting in that full 6 months to literally the week after my internship is ending. He's got me in the studio with K. Michelle, and we're working on her next album. That just gave me an affirmation. Okay, I think you're in the right place.
Right.
So to keep doing what you're doing, and you'll be okay, because it's always positive affirmation. In my opinion, those little things along the way, and it's been a slow grind, upward hill grind,
right?
Which I've definitely appreciated. You know, you hear a lot of overnight success, and they might not know how they got there.
Yeah, but the problem is, you know, a lot of them people lose it afterwards too,
exactly,
because they don't understand the journey that it took to get there. I think you have a bigger appreciation when you go through some bumps and in trials on the way up.
No, absolutely, because I know how I got there.
Right. So. Don't forget where you come from. If you're listening out there, that's one of the big things I always, preach and tell people is, you never know when you're going to, be on the top, but don't ever make fun of anybody, because you never know when you're going to pass them again on the way down.
Exactly.
And stuff. But I know the music business is very cutthroat, but your reputation has really held up, Ant. You've done some, obviously some great things, but, not just working with Black Elvis, but, give a shout out some of the artists, some of the producers, stuff that you have worked with.
So again, at the end of that 6-month internship, the next week, literally working with K. Michelle on her first album. That was one of my first Billboard #1s. Her album went #1. Rich Homie Quan, worked with him during my internship, actually. Shout out to Evan. He was an engineer who came through and just rocked with me on just some whole vibe, and we connected. So, again, relationships are super important in any business, but especially this business. You don't want to burn no bridges. You can, if you want to, but you never know who's next to you will be in that next position. So
that's for sure.
Whoever is next to you, behind you, give them a week, and they're going to be 10 miles in front of you. So relationships are very important. Carrie Hilson, shout out to Carrie Hilson, love her. Al Jamal, that's my brother. He manages her, so he put me in line with her. So we've done some things. Obviously, Usher. That's in my mind, that's the pinnacle of where I'm at right now in this moment.
We're going to talk about that in a moment. First of all, we got to give a big shout out to our sponsor. We want to give a shout out to Cost Plus Processing. Cost Plus Processing is the leader in merchant processing. If you're a business owner and you're still paying merchant fees, please call 1-855-391-9190 and ask and find out why they are the future of merchant processing. Once again, that's 1-855-391-9190. All right, man, we're back to the show here. I'm sitting here with SUPA Ant and, talking about his journey and stuff, listening into, how he grew into the music industry, although it's something that he always had behind him. But now all of a sudden, this is something that he's doing. It's a career that he's decided to, hey, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life and what it's like and stuff. So, and getting back into, your story and stuff, now you're in the music business, you're making a name for yourself, you're putting out quality work, and, now all of a sudden, you get the opportunity to have your first plaque. Now, explain to people what a plaque is.
So a plaque it's a benchmark. It's an award for your hard work. So you have You have several.
But it's not a participation trophy. I'm not gonna lie.
No,
Like these
not at
days,
all.
you know, it's
Not-
not a participation
not at all.
trophy. You know.
There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that are involved to get any type of memento on that level. So you have RIAA certified gold standard, which is 500,000 units sold, whether that's half a million units of literal 99-cent downloads on iTunes Music, or the equivalent of 1,200 to 1,500 streams that equates to that single download. So you have the
It's
gold.
a lot.
You have exactly. You have gold, 500,000.
Mm-hmm.
You have platinum, 1 million, and then the pinnacle I would say is diamond, which is 10 million. I believe there's only 180 or so records that are diamond at this point.
What level we breaking there? What level are you breaking?
I mean, I've got platinum.
There we go.
My first
There
platinum
we go.
my first platinum record was with TK Kravitz and Jacquees.
Oh,
A record called Ocean.
big one
I got that
there.
about 2 years ago, and then I worked with an artist named Callie. She's incredible. She just broke gold on 2 of her records that we did. A record called featuring ATL Jacob.
Just call it. How do you spell mm-mm?
MMM space MMM.
I love it. I love it. I would say
No, because it's the space. Right.
Got you.
And then Area Code's a record we did maybe 3 or 4 months ago, is already gold, and we'll probably see platinum in the next month, 2 months tops.
Good, man. Congratulations on that. Shout out to her.
Yeah, no, shout out to her.
Yeah.
I've been with her for a little over 2 years, and she works so hard, so she definitely deserves everything she deserves.
She's a phenomenal artist, man. I love listening to her too. But you know, you guys make a good combination. Not gonna lie.
Again, chemistry is super important. Chemistry and synergy. So I believe in vibration. So whenever it's that, it's just easy. Making music should be fun. If it feels like work, then we're doing it wrong.
Right.
It shouldn't feel like work.
You know, it's funny you say that because you've been involved in a lot of different pieces of the music, and I mean, you've sang before. Obviously, you've done some production.
Right.
You do the engineering. You know, I believe you do some songwriting as well and stuff. So you're in there vibing with it all. I don't think people know exactly what goes into a song, and I'm fortunate because, you know, coming up, my daughter Kylie got into the music business and stuff. So
I love it.
Yeah, she's got some great big shout out to my kid, man, Kylie Benamino. Go check it out, the music and stuff. But she's you know, we learned the hard way though. She was real young when she first started and stuff, and it is a tough industry, and there's a lot that goes into a song.
Absolutely.
People don't realize that
At all.
You know, talk about some of the transitions and some of the things it's like when you're putting a song together, especially when you have different people in the rooms.
Well, if you have different people in the room, there's a lot of opinions. So again, it just comes down to chemistry, synergy. If me and Callie are working, me and her can be the only ones in the room and create a record that the world will resonate with. But there's also the producer, who's a prominent, you know, piece to the whole puzzle. You have the engineer, you have the songwriter, you have the artist, then you have the mix engineer, then you have the mastering engineer, and then once the song's done, then it has, if you're working with a label and or not working with a label, you have the marketing of it. You have to really promote the record. What else?
Showcase. You got to showcase it too.
Cover art.
All right.
I mean, there's so many things that go into the creation of a record. Back 15 years ago, it was a little more difficult. Absolutely. You have to have some real money to even step into a studio.
Right.
You better know that song forwards and backwards.
Right.
Because time is money at that point.
You know, talk about that for a second. I mean, you know, the transition from back in the day, because unfortunately when I got into it with my daughter, it was very expensive. Getting ready, you know, going into a studio and you know, being in production, shooting a video, doing all those types of things. It's very, very expensive. And then you don't know if you're ever going to get paid, if it's ever going to pay off and stuff. So you're shooting. Nowadays, people are doing stuff right from home, man. They're making beats, they're doing things. They got social media and stuff. How has that elevated, you know, your industry, and how's it elevated you?
I mean, you just explained it, really. Kids are recording whole songs. They're producing it themselves, writing it themselves, mixing it themselves, mastering themselves, and they're dropping straight to a platform like DistroKid or United Masters. And then these social media platforms are allowing them to reach and touch people that 10, 15 years ago would have never been a possibility. So they're literally hitting Billboard from their bedroom. So it's just a game changer, but it shouldn't negate the fact that you still have to work hard, because that can happen. And like we mentioned earlier, you can be here today and gone tomorrow.
Right.
So what do you really want to do? What's the end goal? So it's a lot of competition, but within that competition, that breeds even the better champions every day. So
Yeah.
I'm not mad at it.
I
I love it.
Yeah.
Forward progression is a necessity, and if you can't keep up, then it is what it is. But for those who can, you just got to ride the wave.
You know, I talking to some people before about, you know, getting other people in the industry and stuff. They're like, you know, yeah, it stinks. There's more competitions. There's more of this. To me, I think it separates you from everybody else. Like that would make you work harder. That should drive you more, and that should just elevate your game, elevate your sound, elevate everything, and say, listen, what separates me from everybody else, you know? And I think when you get that beast inside of you, that's when those people really become successful. And you know, become the Ushers of the world, right? And stuff that you see and stuff.
Right. No, absolutely. And you have, again, someone like a Usher or a Carrie Hilson. They're legacy artists. They grew up in an era where everything was definitely, everything was very, what's the word? Can't find the word. Strategic in a sense.
Okay.
Calculated.
Yeah.
It had to be. And now, again, you could be in your bedroom, like I said, and record a song and just throw it up on TikTok, and then it catches for some reason, and now you're Lil Nas X.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Okay.
That's true. That can happen and stuff. Talk about a little bit about what it was like when you first, you know, because I know you've done a lot of cool things and stuff, but the first really cool time where you actually were in there into a studio or in with somebody that, you know, actually recognized you and noticed you and said, hey, Ant, thanks for coming today. Thanks for showing up, and thanks for being here. What was that like?
I would honestly have to say it was with Usher.
Was it? Yeah.
Because I had the opportunity to work with him almost 5 years ago.
Okay.
But I turned it down. I knew I wasn't ready.
Uh-oh.
I knew I wasn't ready.
Turned it down. You hear that, viewers? He turned it down. You turned Usher down for real?
It's not like he specifically reached out to me.
Right.
But again, I was working with a producer who needed to cut some records and said, Ant, are you ready?
See, that just tells you right there, man, know your place, you know? And that's awesome, man. I mean, I didn't know that, and I think that's super awesome to know that, hey, you said, hey, I'm not ready. And it's okay to not be ready.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's okay not to be ready, because in hindsight, whenever I had that call to where I knew I was ready, had I worked with him before, and they're like, oh, yeah, we have an engineer.
He was so.
His name's Ant. We'll bring him in. Oh, I worked with Ant 4 years ago. He was trash.
Right.
I don't want that.
No.
And it could have went well.
Right.
But in my mind, for whatever it was, I didn't think I was ready. But whenever the most recent call was made for me to go work with him, he was already in the booth. There was no introduction to me and him at all. He was already recording with his A&R, Keith, because Keith knows how to record.
Right.
Keith Thomas. Shout out Keith Thomas.
There you go. Big shout out, Keith.
He was recording some of the hooks, so he finished the hook, and then I jumped in to get to the verses, and we just got straight to work. In my mind, that's Usher.
Right.
But we need to get the best recording at this moment. So if it wasn't right, we're going to do it again. I didn't treat him no different than anybody that I had worked with. And then at the end of that, I feel like he appreciated that, because as soon as he came out the booth, he gave me this look like, okay.
Right.
And that was an affirmation and confirmation for me, like, okay, we know what we're doing. So for me, that was a moment just because of who he was. And I grew up on his music, like, love his music, can sing every song at the show word for word.
That's awesome. Right? And I watched you do that actually and
exactly.
stuff. But the truth of the matter is, I mean, growing up with knowing that music and stuff, and now here you are a part of his music, you know, and not only a part of it, but you've done a good job, obviously, and you've improved his sound and stuff.
Thank you.
But you know, you're you're valuable to them, and they treat you like family.
Absolutely.
I mean, I saw that just being there with you this week and a couple weeks ago over there in Vegas and stuff, and the way that they introduce you and the way you're family with them, and stuff. I mean, it's amazing to me still, his show and how long he performed, and the amount of energy that he puts into it. It's phenomenal. I mean, a lot of people always wonder what somebody, superstar like is like off, when they're not on stage, what kind of person they are and stuff. And I got to be honest, he's really the same person on the stage that he is off the stage. I mean, he's just just a super person, that recognizes that, hey, I'm really not bigger than anybody else, even though I'm a big deal. But he doesn't really throw that in your face, about that. He makes people feel like, hey, you know what, you're here for me, and that's special to me, and stuff. And it was just really cool. It was a cool event and a cool show. And again, to think that after a guy, goes on tour, after a guy does a 4-hour show, what's his after party going to be like? Like, what is he going to want to do? And it was amazing to me, because if you asked me that question before I went to his after party with you, if you asked me that question, what does Usher do after his show? I'd have got that wrong every time. I'd have lost my whole house and everything else, man.
Yeah, no, we're in the skating rink.
He's skating. He's in the skating rink.
Yeah.
He's skating. That was amazing.
And that's Atlanta culture.
Yeah.
Of course, Cascade, growing up with that. So he loves it, and he's damn good at it. So.
Yeah, he definitely is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it goes back to some of the shows when he did on skates, right?
Exactly.
And everything. And he did some of it there on the skates, but that just wasn't the average thing. But it was really cool, man. It was cool to, seeing you out there roller skating, getting it and stuff.
And I grew up on that too. So being from Savannah, we had a skating rink, so they didn't know.
Yeah.
But I got out there and I can.
That's right.
You can. A little gliding.
Well, I heard a little bit. You're big into skateboarding too, right?
Skateboarding, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, that's a good pastime of mine. Getting a little older, but it keeps me nimble. It keeps me flexible, and it's good cardio. I've always enjoyed it. I think it started when I was probably 11 or 12 years old. We started on BMX bikes.
Oh yeah.
And we made our own dirt jumps in some woods behind my house, and then a buddy of mine that was a BMXer as well. He had a friend who was an older guy who was actually a pro BMXer, but also skateboarded on some amateur level stuff, and he gave him a couple skateboards. So he started skating, and he gave me one of the skateboards, and I started skating. And then, of course, that was during the era of PlayStation 2, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I sat on that. I would sit on there hours and hours and hours and hours trying to finish that game.
Uh-huh.
So I started skateboarding, and it just grew into a love of it. Started actually collecting skateboard decks. So that became an aspect as well, just a collector. I feel like I've always been a collector. I didn't know I was a collector.
Uh-huh.
But I have quite a collection of just skateboard decks now. I have 3 Tony Hawk signed skateboards.
Oh, yeah? Nice.
I wasn't with him when he signed them, but I did go ahead and grab them.
Hey, maybe if he's listening, man, you never know. You might just show up there.
I mean, that would be incredible.
Yeah.
He's the one. When you mention skateboarding, no matter what it is, if it's somebody who knows nothing about skateboarding, you mention his name.
Oh, you know who Tony Hawk
you know
is.
Who Tony Hawk is.
That's right.
So, yeah, no, I love it. It's for me, because it's just you and the board. It's like golf. Skateboarding, right. You just have yourself to rely on. So just getting out there. It's a mental thing, too. It's discipline.
Mm-hmm.
You might do one trick 1,000,000 times on video just to get that one time that you actually landed. And it's just a feeling that an adrenaline rush that can't be replaced. So, and I love adrenaline.
Oh, yeah.
I love to feed off of that. So that kind of plays into my love for it. I think is just the adrenaline that it actually gives you. And it's nothing from something like
right.
music is. Nothing from something.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And I love that.
Now, listen, when you're walking around and you're doing stuff, do you always got music in your ears? Are you always listening? Are you always trying to, are you always trying to find that next beat, that next mix? Are you always?
No, that's a question that I get asked a lot, especially just listening to music. Are you listening to it? Can you enjoy it?
Right.
You can't turn it off.
And that was one of my questions actually is, do you listen to music and say, that's garbage?
Sometimes.
Like I could do better.
Even somebody who has no technical ear for music,
right.
listen to a song and be like, that's garbage. But again, it's all opinion based.
Sure.
Something that person A thinks is garbage, person B loves and listens to it every day. But being in it and listening to it, it is something you can turn off and turn on. Of course, I can just turn the radio on or go to the club and listen to music and enjoy it. But if I'm listening for it, in that aspect is what we call critical listening. So sometimes I do turn on critical listening just to see there may be a song I've heard 100 times, but then when I actually sit down and listen to it critically, I'm like, oh, I never heard that was in there.
Right.
But I didn't have to, because it gave me such a feeling before that I wasn't listening to it critically. I was just listening to it as to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the difference, is just feel versus critical. So it can be turned on and turned off.
So how hard is it to rearrange a song? How hard is it to change up some melodies and do different? Like, you got a decent song, everybody knows and stuff, but if you actually took it and said, man, an old school song and I want to bring it back to life, it's 20-year-old song maybe, and bring it back to life and change up a few things and stuff. Is that kind of really hard to do? Or
well, I mean, if you have a record that's a hit and you don't completely botch it, I feel like once a hit, always a hit.
True.
And that's happening a lot now, even because we're hearing records on the radio and they're only reaching back into the early 90s, late 90s, and redoing them.
Right.
And the kids now,
damn, them 80s and 90s were good times, boy.
Man.
That's my era. Good times, good times.
They don't know. And it doesn't matter that they don't know, because it's gone, but there's such a reminiscent feeling, nostalgia for the ones who do know.
Mm-hmm.
But again, the feeling that was there in the 80s and the 90s that made a song a hit then, as long as that feeling's still there, it still resonates with the younger kids, and it still goes. So I'm not gonna say there's a real science behind it, but there is a little bit of a science behind it that
Mm-hmm.
you have to understand music to really make it work. So shout out to the producers, the writers who do that, because it's
for every
not
song, even the bad songs. I'm going to go ahead and give them a shout out too, because let me tell you what, there's a lot of work that goes into it.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? They don't know it's bad. It's not for everybody. Like somebody's song may be good for a certain genre, or for a certain group, or for certain, but it's not for everybody.
Exactly.
And stuff. But it doesn't mean it's not for nobody. But in the end, they put a lot of effort into some of those things.
No, absolutely. It requires that, and you get out what you put in.
Yeah. I think so many people today, they think, oh man, music, it's easy. Oh, you're going to get paid. You make a song, you make a beat, we're going to get paid. It's going to, money's going to come rolling in and stuff. And, and then they realize that you got to get listeners. You got to get people to listen. You got people like it. There's a lot more that goes into it.
I want to say, I saw an interview or an article from Spotify, and there are, what is it? Don't quote me.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to say there's roughly 20 to 25 million songs that are released that either don't have a listen or have one listen.
Right.
So
right.
You didn't even listen to your song when you released it. Your mama didn't listen to your song when you released it.
Oh, that hurts.
Like, what are we
Mama
doing?
didn't listen to the song. Oh, that's heartbreaking.
What are we doing? So there's a lot more involved than just recording the song and then dropping it as well. Again, the marketing, promotion.
Right.
You have to have a real team, unless you're your team, because there are a lot of solo artists who can do that.
Right.
But they understand it, because at the end of the day, it's music business. It is a business.
It is.
There's a lot that goes into business, whether it's real estate or whatever you want to do. If you want to be a professional painter and paint houses for the rest of your life.
And maybe that's what maybe that's what part of college was for you. Maybe to learn that business piece of it all.
No, the business was important. That definitely gave me, I feel like, a little bit of an upper hand and a stronghold on understanding the music and making it translate to benefit me to the best of its ability.
Now, as well as I know, that it really is a lot of, who you know too. Like, you got to be able to have that opportunity and stuff. And you've been fortunate to be surrounded like a Black Elvis that kind of took you and gave you an opportunity and stuff. Is that important to you to give back as well? Once your status to kind of groom some people,
no, absolutely,
where you can give them a little bit of a little piece of the pie so they can start grooming themselves and grow.
Absolutely, no, teaching. I love teaching. Anybody that really wants to listen and I feel is really engaged, is hungry for it, I love teaching. And going back to Black Elvis, we actually are in talks with SCAD, which is based in Savannah. They have classes and buildings and facilities here in Atlanta as well.
Okay.
But me and Black Elvis are actually working with SCAD, and we're putting together a curriculum for them to give them more of a real world understanding of what the music business is. So that's
great.
Your point. Your point. No, I love that. And anybody that's willing to listen and is really hungry for it, I'll love to pour into them for sure.
Yeah. What is your number one most accomplishment, would you say? I mean, and you know what? It could be music. It could be whatever it is. I just, the world wants to know, what is SUPA Ant number one, thing that accomplishment?
Number one, honestly, just making my parents proud. At the end of the day,
There you go.
they've put so much into me monetarily, emotionally. So as long as I can keep them happy and understanding that I'm doing good,
Right.
that's all I care about at this point.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And that's good that you know that and remember that and stuff. Do you have any other dream jobs coming ahead? Anybody, artists that you really want to work with, or somebody else that you think that you would vibe well with?
Yeah, absolutely. So Lil Wayne.
Lil Wayne?
Where you at, Wayne?
Where you at?
Let's go.
Come on.
Let's
Call
go.
my boy SUPA Ant.
Please.
Come on.
Please. Nah, he's one of my favorite artists. Absolutely. I remember
Your favorite.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I remember being 11. I think I was 11 years old.
Uh-huh.
And his album, The Block is Hot, dropped. So again, I told you I grew up in church. My mom, she was a Sunday school teacher, so she did not, she didn't allow the rap music in the house. So I would buy Christian rap music just so I could
Okay.
the vibe in the house at least. But I remember being 11 years old and buying his first album, The Block is Hot. Now, he didn't cuss on that album at all because his mom wouldn't allow it. But he had one track on it. I think it was track 12 where he did cuss. But being that it wasn't considered an explicit album, I was able to buy it. So I was 11 years old buying Lil Wayne's album, and we were going on family vacation, and I listened to that album. It was a 7-8 hour trip down to Miami, and I listened to that album on repeat the whole way, and I've just been a fan ever since. Everything that he drops.
That's good.
I mean, his lyrical ability is crazy. So
He's phenomenal, man.
Absolutely.
How can you not love him, and stuff and everything? So that's great. Where do you see yourself? Where does the world see yourself 10 years from now?
10 years from now, I mean, I have bigger dreams. Obviously, the music will be a catalyst for most of them. But diving into real estate, I would love to do real estate, and that's have properties across the country and the world. Owning my own studio. One of my mentors, Steve Fisher, that's the studio that I actually got started at, where I did my first internship, 11th Street Studios. And watching him build over the years, he's acquired at least 5 different studios since I've first known who he is.
Right.
So that's a super inspiration and aspiration of mine, is to eventually have my own studio to where I can cultivate the future of music as well. But outside of that, yeah, just trying to be as great as possible and pour into the people. Well,
you definitely done that. One last thing, if you could tell the viewers and stuff, first of all, how can they follow you? How can they find you? 1, and 2, any advice for them? Somebody out there listening and says, man, I've been wanting to get into music. I've been wanting to be an engineer. I wanted to do some production. What do you tell them, and how did they get started?
Okay, so to reach out to me, my social is at SUPA912, SUPA 912. That's Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. I'm really not on Twitter that much, but Instagram I'm very active on, so you can feel free to reach out to me. I get people reaching out to me all the time. They'll send me music, and I'll actually sit down and listen to it. I'm not opposed to that. Like, it's easy to reach me. If you send me a DM, I'm more than likely going to reach out if I see it. So again, that's SUPA 912 on Instagram. And then at the end of the day, if it's something that you really want, just go for it. Of course, it's nothing that comes easy is worth having. So definitely grind, keep your head down. Don't listen to the naysayers. There's been so many no's, but just because you have a no, that wasn't your yes. That means your yes wasn't ready. So just keep working. If I can do it,
there you go.
I want to say anybody can do it.
Anybody can do it. That's awesome. Well, there you have it, folks, and thanks for listening to WamBams Podcast, the show about ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Make sure you follow us and subscribe to all of our social media, especially our YouTube channel. If you have any questions that you would like to send us, go ahead and email them to wambam@wambamspodcast.com. Now remember, folks, you got one life to live, so make it epic. You got to ask yourself, if your life was a movie, would it be worth watching? Now go be extraordinary and just stop being ordinary. I can't wait to see you again next Wednesday on WamBams Podcast. And as always, stay positive and keep testing negative. This is your boy Wham Bam, and I'm out.